Okay, folks, welcome to a quick update on Nvidia shares, which are moving lower in the after hours session. We were down as low as about 6%. We are now down about 4.35% in the after hours session. So on the left side of your screen, you're looking at a 45-minute chart. On the right side of your screen, you're looking at a weekly chart. The weekly chart is not updated to reflect after hours price action. However, if it did, we would be down here at this line in red just below it, actually, because now we're beginning to give up some of the real estate we had just gained back from the lows. So what happened here with Nvidia after hours is that Nvidia plunges after U.S. imposes licenses on H20 chip sales to China, slaps company with a $5.5 billion charge. Now, this is not their high-end computing chip. This is a chip that's been scaled down for the Chinese market to comply with U.S. requirements because of our concerns about China's potential nefarious behavior when it comes down to their usage of NVIDIA chips in quantum computers or supercomputers. So I made some notes here with how this could impact NVIDIA. So I apologize, I'm looking at my notes here. I am focusing in on you. So export license requirements. On the 9th of April, the U.S. government informed Nvidia that exporting H20 chips to China, including Hong Kong and Macau, now requires a license. This measure aims to prevent potential use in China supercomputer. The license requirement is set to remain indefinitely. So, this is what we've been talking about quite a bit, is that we have a market right now that is quite expensive. Schiller PE multiple on the S&P 500 at 33.8. The Chinese came out this morning ramping up their tariff talk on Boeing. Now, Boeing shares held up fairly well, as did the market to give it credit. But now with this news here, it's clear that we're beginning to resume the momentum of this trade war. Let me continue on with my notes, my key talking points I want to touch upon. Now, the financial impact, Nvidia expects to incur approximately a $5.5 billion charge in the first quarter ending April 27th, 2025. These charges relate to inventory, purchase commitments, and reserves associated with the H20 product. So these are charges that are being felt immediately, and you're seeing it reflected in the share price. We're going to talk about valuations of Nvidia, where we are relative to historical norms, in a few minutes. Stick around. Market reaction. Following the announcement, Nvidia shares fell 5%. We know about this. Other semiconductor companies, Taiwan Semi, Broadcom, AMD, also experienced declines. So let's take a quick look here. We'll come back to Nvidia in a moment. Let's take a look at the semiconductor ETF. This is down 2.11% in the after-hours session. Let's take a look at Broadcom. Broadcom shares are down 3.1% in the after-hours session. And AMD down, 5.51%, AMD in the after-hours session. So the spillover effect here tomorrow morning is going to be measurable. So let's get back to Nvidia. Let's wrap up the talking points, and then we'll talk about valuations and the technicals on Nvidia at price points where it may look attractive. So background on the H20 chip. The H20 chip was specifically designed for the Chinese market to comply with previous U.S. export restrictions. It is a scaled-down version of NVIDIA's more advanced AI chip, like the H100, which are restricted from export to China. So a broadening out of the sanctions potentially against the Chinese. China's market significance. China accounts for 13% of NVIDIA's sales. The new restrictions could impact the company's revenues and its relationship with other major Chinese tech firms such as Tencent, Alibaba, ByteDance, which have been significant purchasers of the H20 chip. So the implications here on trade tensions are fairly profound, and we should only expect more ratcheting up by the Chinese in retaliation. Markets do not like uncertainty. So the past few days, you've seen the bearishness come out of the market. You've seen the put-call ratio fall back into line. All the sentiment indicators that we look at, they have fallen back into historical norms. Now the stage is set for a potential rollover. Now looking at a daily chart of the triple Qs, it closed up on the day, but the volume dropped off significantly. Now when we adjust for the after hours price action, you can see that right now we're down a little over 1% in the after hours session on the triple Qs. So what's the where to from here? Let's go back to the intraday charts. On the left pane, by the way, we're using TrendSpider Automated Technical Analysis. There's a link below. They have an Easter sale if you want to take advantage of it. I think it's 36% off of their annual packages, and I give it away free to our silver and gold level members. Let's stick with that 45-minute view. Let's go back to candlesticks and bring Nvidia back up. And on the left pane, you'll see I have the weekly chart. Nvidia now down 4.27%. Let's overlay some trend lines here to identify where we may have support on a weekly time frame. So I'm going to click on the automated trend lines. There we have it. And you can see that back here, the week of April the 7th, we reversed right off of this lower band of support. Now, right now, this is, again, not reflective. The weekly pane right side is not reflective of the after hours price action, but we're right down below this line in red, now shown here as well. Now, one thing I took note of earlier is that when you throw the heat map up here, you could see that we had all sorts of overhead supply that we have been trying to grind through, but we really hit a rough patch above. So it's no great shock that we saw a stalling of price action today, very light volume across the board, whether to the upside or to the downside in this market. Now, at current, I believe that we are off of a Fibonacci retracement level. Here's the auto fibs. Yeah, and we bounced right off of it in the after hours session. So if we close back down below the week, we're going to go by a weekly time frame here. If we close the week back down below 106.45, next stop is going to be right back down here to this prior lower band of support at 92.03. If that fails, we're coming down here to 82.52. Now, when we take a look at what's going on by the insiders, you can see that their CEO, Jensen Huang, has been selling a lot of shares, and he's been doing so since June, technically before that, but it really began in June, July, and he's been ramping it up, and you're seeing some additional sellers selling their shares as well. So never a good sign. Now, in terms of valuation, you could see that the revenues, gross income, net income, gross margins, all that's good stuff. The however is when it comes down to the price to earnings multiple, we're still sporting a 37.78 price to earnings multiple. Price to book, we are pretty expensive on a historical basis. We were measurably lower back in July of 2022 at around 16.14. At current, we are at around 34.64. Not good. Price to sales, again, we're very expensive here. We hit lows back in July again of 2022 at 12.02. Right now we're sporting a 21.11 handle on Nvidia shares price to sales multiple. So long story short, we have what appears to be a weak open for tomorrow. We have Nvidia shares, which are still a bit frothy. They do not report earnings for a few weeks. So I think it's really prudent right now to hold on to your capital. If you're on margin, think about lightening up. This market, again, is not cheap. And in closing, don't forget TrendSpider and automated technical analysis. It's not just for the novice investor. It is for the experienced investor. I like to call it my Bloomberg terminal for the average trader, except the Bloomberg terminal costs several $1,000s a month. And you can just see the functionality here. You have the automated trend lines, candlestick patterns, chart pattern recognition, heat maps, insider buying, news, analyst ratings, seasonality, etc. Unusual options trades. I can go on and on. Take advantage of the 36% discount code for Easter below. Everybody have a great night. Members, I'll talk to you tomorrow morning. Till then, be well.